In this video we're going to take a look at two different flanger pedals. One is the Ibanez Airplane Flanger AF2 and the second one is the Electric Mistress Deluxe from Electro-Harmonics. This one is some sort of special edition signature by some Paul guy. I guess he's a guitarist. And the second one is more of a classic flanger pedal, and the first revision of that one was released in 1976, and this one is from what I understand, the last revision from 2015. And also from what I've read online, that is the least appreciated version by guitarists. Now I'm gonna look at this from a synthesizer perspective and not a guitar perspective, because I'm not a guitarist. So I'm gonna test with mainly the TB-303 from Roland, because I have been wanting to find a good flanger for sort of acid house type of things, but I'm also gonna test different sounds, not just acid house stuff. So we're gonna do a test with the dry signal first, and we're gonna listen to the Airplane Flanger, and then we're gonna look at the Electric Mistress. I have a dry pattern here. And that's mainly made so that it has some sort of, I don't know, crunchy or squelchy things for the flanger to grab a hold of, because that's when flanger, to me at least, sounds the best, or when you hear what it's doing. These two pedals are sort of similar. They have a range and a speed, and a range and a speed, which is called rate on that one. They also have another function that we will look at after, but they're set to the slowest rate and the widest range for now. So let's listen to the dry, and then we're gonna flip between the two different ones. Okay, so what you hear is that the Electric Mistress is a lot lower in volume. I'm not sure why guitar pedals do that, but again, I'm not a guitar player, and the pedals I've been using, in my experience, made for guitars, are often that way. I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna do this again, and in post-processing I'm gonna raise that one in volume so it kind of level matches the Airplane Flanger, so you can listen to them what they actually sound like, and not be biased just because that one has a lower volume. So let's try this again. Dry. Now let's listen to the pedals when they are on a faster LFO. So that's where you can hear the speed a bit wobbly there. The enhancing feature here is actually very, I don't know, it kind of adds another type of sound instead of just playing with the signal. The Electro-Harmonics, let's see what that sounds like. That's interesting. Sounds completely different. Interesting. Reason why I selected these two pedals to compare is because they have a really interesting feature that many other pedals don't have, and that is that you can actually switch the LFO off and then manually set the wear in the range, so you kind of have a static flange that you can play with a knob instead of just having the LFO. On the Airplane Flanger, you do this by just setting the range to 0 and the speed to 0, and well, the enhance will just set that to 0. And then in this setting, the manual knob will actually be where you set the flange. So let's try that. So this is dry. And as you hear, there's no movement. So when I start to move the manual knob, I'm going to set the static flange myself. I can sweep myself or just leave it here. Or here. And it also feels like when you sort of down here in this region, it goes more into a chorusy type of sound, and up here it's more of a thinner flanging thing. On the Electric Mistress, you have a switch for this instead. We're going to set the range back to 0 and the rate back to 0, and color actually back to 0 as well. So we're going to switch it to the filter matrix. It's what it's called there. And when you do that, the range is where you set the static flange value. So that will be the same thing as you moving this manual knob on the AF2. Let's turn that off. Dry signal first. And as you hear, it's all static. And we're going to move this with range knob instead. Let's try the same thing, but use a lot more color on this one, and I use well, the same thing on that one. It's called enhance, but still. So we're gonna do manual mode, filter switch mode on that one, and we're just gonna play a little bit with the enhance on that one and the color on that one. See what happens when you go to the maximum here. So it definitely has some sort of metallic thing going on there. Let's try the same thing on that one. A lot more going on here. So they do have the same functions, but they sound completely different, obviously. But I really like that feature that you can sort of manually control the flanging. I guess for a guitarist it wouldn't be very practical to use one hand for that, since you use both hands when you play a guitar. But when you do this with synthesizers, it's actually kind of nice to just sit there and try to find a sweet spot there. Usually I find that better if I have maybe some reverb or delay. I want to do this with only hardware, no reverb or delay after in my DAW. So we're going to use a delay pedal that I have from Donner. This one called a Yellow Fall. It's actually a really budget one, and it's not super good for everything, but for this it will be fine, I think. Let's find a less acid kind of pattern here. Yeah, that will work. So we're gonna do the enhance a little lower and then play with this manual thing a bit more. It feels like it's easier to find some sort of a psychedelic little mood going on there. Let's do the same thing with the Electric Mistress instead. Okay. definitely find some sweet spots there. They sound completely different, but both have their own little psychedelic feel there, together with the delay. I actually can't really decide which one I like better, but the Electric Mistress seems to sound more old school or more vintage for some reason. And the Airplane Flanger seems to be a little bit more modern and more tight or more in your face, sort of. It feels like the Electric Mistress is a little bit further away. I'm not sure how to explain that, just my feeling of it. So let's try more of a distorted acid thing going on here. I have this pattern right here. We're going to add some distortion plus from the MXR, which is my favorite distortion for the 303. And let's add the flanger with highest range, lowest speed. Cool. Let's try the same thing with the Electric Mistress. I also want to test this with drums. So I have just gotten an RD-6 from Behringer, which is the clone of the old TR-606. So let's just switch between those again. Let's try another pattern. Dry. They sound completely different. This is of course lower in volume, which is a little bit annoying when you work with synthesizers. I would assume that it's annoying when you work with guitars as well, but I guess they have volume pedals and are used to it, but from a synthesizer perspective, it's really annoying that that goes down in volume when you switch it on. It also really cuts off the low end of it. If you work with bass lines and like drum machines, the bottom end is kind of important. That can, of course, be adjusted with EQs and added back to the sound in some way. But this one actually sounds a lot more full and more direct, more in your face, more tight, more. It just adds more of a, I don't know, direct sweep, whereas this adds some sort of chorusy bottom end removal thing. I'm not sure. Personally, for Acid House and the TB-303, I would use this one. But this one is actually really good when it comes to other stuff. I've tested it with an MS-20 and an MS-10 as well. Didn't really have time to film that, but as you saw when I tested more of a ambient delay-ish kind of thing, I found that this had more like old school 70s psychedelic, like early Kraftwerk, Harmonia, that type of thing, whereas this seems more modern. Definitely can go psychedelic with this one too, but this just sounds older, and this one sounds a bit more modern. I like them both. I hope that you found this video helpful, and good luck on your hunt for a good flanger pedal for your synthesizers.